I guess this is it, the future is here. Let me demonstrate. Ready? Hi, my name is Gregor Fries and this is the much anticipated Quad Cortex by Neural DSP that was sent to me by the company. And I could only say the future is here at the beginning of this video because I'm a rather ignorant person when it comes to these new technologies. I've never tried a Helix yet. I once owned a camera, but I found it rather complicated and not very inspiring, to be honest. But when a buddy of yours starts a company, builds the most powerful, however these things are called, I guess you gotta check it out. And I'm impressed, I'm very impressed. And here now is Lars Lehmann demonstrating one of the many bass presets in the Quad Cortex. I want to warn you up front that I will grossly simplify what the Quad Cortex is and what it is able to do. But what I can do and what I'm able, I guess, to do is to show you what it is to me, how I've started using it, and I guess why it's here to stay. To paint a stronger picture, if I had an unlimited production budget for this video, I would have thrown my tube amps out of the window during the intro because I'm not sure if I will ever need them for recording again. I mean, they can't be replaced to fill this room with sound. Sounded gross. However, but for recording, this here is just a way better partner. And that's simply because recording is hard. You need the right amp with the right settings. You need a cabinet with a mic in front of it in the right position. You need a room not too roomy, not too dead. And all of that is just a recipe for disaster, especially for beginners. This one here requires none of that. It's just plug and play, and it sounds as real as the real thing. So yeah. This last example was especially remarkable because this lovely Gibson EB2 bass sounds amazing, but it's incredibly hard to record. It's very loud, it has low end to melt the ice caps, and who even owns an era-appropriate Ampeg B15 combo to do this properly? Do you know who? This guy, and with that apparently I do too. And not just that, it's also a well-recorded one. And not just one, there are different B15s for different years in there that you can try against each other, which is just super cool. And once you leave the presets and go rogue in the menu, you will sooner or later discover captures. And these are amps and not just digitally recreated amps. These are real amps captured in this device, and there's so many, it's a thing. And again, it's not just that. You can even capture your own amps in the Quad Cortex and leave them in there and store them and have them forever living in there. Cool. Speaking of captures, I really like the orange sounds in here. So let's hear something that we just built on the spot during the recording session. This. Of course, it's not just amps and cabinets. This is also a multi-effects pedal with distortions, delays, modulation, octavers, really cool envelope filters. All these kind of things are already in here. But it's still a rather newborn product and platform, so the options list isn't endless yet, which, to be honest, I'm rather happy about. I don't want to get lost in 30 different phases. The one that's in here already sounds world class, and this is coming from a guy who owns almost 30 different phasers in real life. And the way you can structure your sounds in here using the so-called grid is just amazing, and it's so complex and it goes way beyond what anyone would ever do with an analog rig, which means this thing is actually a lot of fun. How much fun, you ask? How about this much fun? There are 3 ways to use the Quad Cortex live or in the studio or wherever you want to make music. The first one is all about presets, and that means you have different presets on each one of those foot switches. If you're running out of space, just jump to the next bank and go on. The next mode, which is called Stomp, is I guess for those who rather play one sound and just want to add different effects, maybe play around with different cabinets. In this mode, each one of those foot switches is dedicated to a certain thing that will be switched on and off to the basic sound that you always have. And then finally there's the Scene mode, which is kind of similar to Stomp, but each foot switch just can do a whole array of things at the same time, so can switch multiple effects and cabinets all with one button, but still staying with the same amp. That's at least how I understood it. By the way, setting up sounds in the Quad Cortex is, and at least to me, amazing experience. You have this really good high-end touchscreen display that works very well. In addition to that, if you like a more of a physical, tactile experience when setting up sounds, all these foot switches are also potentiometers that you can use as well, which is just really cool. Wanna hear more ridiculous sounds from the presets? How about this one? Did I miss anything? Probably. Do I care? Not really. Is there something I don't like about the Quad Cortex? Yes, unfortunately, there's one thing. It's probably not a big deal, and hopefully it will be fixed at some point, but it's something that I would like to point out at this point. Let's say point more often. When you go through the different captures, and I'm not talking about captures you make yourself, I mean about the factory captures that are already stored in the pedal when you get it. They are not really built up in a Unigain fashion. That means when you scroll through them and find the best one for a certain sound, just are some much louder than the others, which is just a little bit annoying. So please, Neural DSP, fix this. Is there anything I love about the Quad Cortex? Of course, yes, literally everything else. I mean, especially it has proven to me as a smug vintage guy that vintage smugness might sooner or later just become a thing of the past, because this machine is so powerful and it sounds so good. It's just as good as the real thing, and as I said before, in some cases even better, because you will not run into all these issues that you have when you're, for example, recording at home. And this is a big deal. It really is. If you need to see proof that I mean what I say, this is the power supply of the Quad Cortex. There's already a Quad Cortex label on it, which I put on all the power supplies, which is in this room the design that we are indeed talking about, the keyboard here. And the other thing is, I've already ordered a set of short XLR cables from my friends at Rheingold, because I needed short cables for my desk, because this is where the Quad Cortex will live from now on. And I've built this preset, which you've heard in the intro, which is now my go-to amp sound whenever I want to record something with an amp sound. So yeah, that's it. And there's a really cool Friedman preset in here, which I use for guitar, which you also heard in the intro. So yeah, I'm impressed.